There is a specific kind of heartbreak that nobody warns you about. It is not the kind that comes when someone tells you they do not love you. It is not the kind that comes after a screaming argument or a cruel goodbye. It is the kind that arrives quietly, in the middle of an ordinary Tuesday, when you are folding laundry or sitting in traffic, and it just hits you. He loved you. He genuinely, actually loved you. And he still did not choose you. That is the wound this video is about. And if you are here right now, I want you to know, I already know you have been trying to make sense of something that feels like it should not be possible. How can someone love you and still walk away? How can someone hold you at night, look at you like you are everything, say all the right things, and still pick a life that does not have you in it? Stay with me, because by the end of this video, I think you are going to understand something about yourself, about him, and about love itself that most people spend years figuring out. Let's start with the thing nobody wants to say out loud. Love, on its own, is not enough. I know how that sounds. We grew up on movies and songs and fairy tales that told us love conquers all. That if two people truly love each other, they find a way. And so, when someone who clearly loved you still does not choose you, your brain does something painful. It starts to question whether the love was real at all. You start rewriting the whole story. You start thinking, maybe he never actually loved me. Maybe it was all an act. Maybe I was just convenient, just a placeholder, just someone to fill the space until something better came along. And I need you to hear me on this. That is not what happened. You are not rewriting the story to find the truth. You are rewriting the story to protect yourself from a truth that is actually much harder to sit with. The harder truth is this: he loved you, and he still was not capable of choosing you. Those two things are not contradictions. They can both be true at the same time. And until you stop running from that, you are going to stay stuck in a version of this story that keeps you small. Here is what love actually is, versus what we were told it is. Love is a feeling. Choosing someone, that is an action. That is a decision made every single day. That is someone looking at the full picture of their life, their fears, their priorities, their comfort zone, their vision of their future, and deciding that you fit into it. Deciding that the discomfort of growth is worth it. Deciding that what you two have together matters more than what they would have to give up or face or change. Love does not require courage. Choosing someone does. And some people, many people actually, are perfectly capable of the feeling but completely unable to do the work. They can feel the love in their chest like a fire. They just will never build a home in that fire with you. And that is not about you. That is entirely, completely, painfully about them. Think about the relationship for a second. Not the good memories. Those are going to flood in on their own. You don't need help with those. Think about the patterns. Think about how many times you could feel him pulling back just when things got real. Think about how every time the relationship asked something of him, vulnerability, commitment, confrontation, sacrifice, there was suddenly distance. Suddenly he was busy. Suddenly you were moving too fast. Suddenly there was something about the timing, something about where he was in his life, something about the fact that he just needed to focus on himself right now. Do you see it? The love was real. The love was there every time he pulled you close. The avoidance was also real. Every time choosing you would have cost him something. Every time staying with you would have required him to face himself. He chose the feeling of loving you. He could not choose the responsibility of loving you. And those are two very different things. Now I want to talk about you for a moment, because this video is not just about him. This video is about what this kind of love does to the person on the receiving end of it, and what it does is this. It teaches you to be grateful for almost. It teaches you to lower the ceiling on what you are allowed to want. Because when someone loves you but does not choose you, you spend so long in that almost relationship, that almost commitment, that almost future, that you start to negotiate with yourself. You start thinking, at least he loves me. At least I know the feelings are real. At least he is not with someone else. At least we have this, even if it is not everything, and almost starts to feel like enough, almost starts to feel safe, because almost means you never have to risk the full thing. You never have to find out if someone will stay when it truly counts, because the relationship never gets to the point where that is tested. And I want you to think about how long you have been living in almost, because I think you have been there a lot longer than this one person. I think this might be a place you have visited before. I think there might be something in you that has learned to make a home in almost, because almost feels safer than the terrifying, wide-open vulnerability of being fully chosen. Let me tell you something about the people who love you but do not choose you. They are not villains. This is important because when you are in pain, your brain wants to make them the villain. It wants to find the proof that he was manipulative, that he was selfish, that he never cared. And sometimes that is true. Sometimes people really do use the word love carelessly and irresponsibly, and if that is your situation, we can talk about that too. But more often than not, the person who loved you but did not choose you is someone who is genuinely emotionally underdeveloped. Someone who has never been asked to do the real work of love. Someone who, if you sat him down and asked him to explain himself, could not even fully articulate why he did what he did, because he has never examined it. He is not operating from cruelty. He is operating from fear. He is operating from a pattern that was probably installed in him long before he ever met you. A pattern that says commitment is dangerous, that vulnerability leads to loss, that needing someone gives them power over you. He learned somewhere from someone that love is something you feel in private and protect yourself from in public. And rather than do the work to unlearn that, he just didn't. He kept the feeling and handed you the consequences. That does not make it okay. I want to be really clear about that. Understanding why someone did something is not the same as accepting that it was acceptable. You can have compassion for where he came from and still be devastated by what he did to you. You can see his wounds and still tend to your own. Empathy is not the same as excusing, and forgiveness, when and if you get there, is not the same as pretending it did not hurt. It did hurt. It hurt in a way that only something real can hurt. You do not grieve things that did not matter. The size of your pain is a testament to the size of what you felt, what you built, what you hoped for. Do not minimize it. Do not rush it. But also, and I say this with every ounce of care I have, do not let it convince you that you are the reason he could not choose you. Because that is the lie that gets in now, isn't it? That is the voice that starts whispering at 2 a.m. Maybe if I had been less needy. Maybe if I had given him more space. Maybe if I had been more interesting, more patient, more understanding, more relaxed, less emotional, more confident. Maybe if I had just asked for less. Maybe if I had just been better, easier to love, easier to stay for, then he would have chosen me. And I need you to hear this very clearly. That is not a thought. That is a wound talking. That is the voice of every time someone made you feel like your love was too much, your needs were too demanding, your expectations were unreasonable. That voice has been with you for a long time, and it found the perfect situation to feel completely justified, didn't it? Because the one person you loved, the one person whose choice would have meant everything, didn't choose you. And so the voice says, see, proof, you were right, you are too much, you are not enough. Pick one. The story changes, but the conclusion is always the same. You are the problem. Here is the actual truth. You were not too much. You were not the wrong person. You were the right person in the wrong dynamic. You were someone with the capacity for real love, real commitment, real depth. And you gave that to someone who had not done the work to receive it. That is not a character flaw in you. That is a mismatch. And mismatches are painful, but they are not verdicts. They do not tell you what you are worth. They tell you what was possible between two specific people at a specific point in time. Nothing more than that. I want to talk about the thing that makes this particular heartbreak so addictive, because I think if you are honest with yourself, you will recognize this. There is something intoxicating about loving someone who almost chooses you. There is something that keeps pulling you back into the orbit of a person who gives you just enough warmth, just enough intimacy, just enough of a glimpse at what this could be, that you never quite let go. And I want you to think about why. Because it is not just about him. It is about what almost chosen feels like compared to what being fully chosen would require of you. When you are in that push-pull dynamic, there is a certain kind of control. You know the terrain, you know the highs and the lows, you know what to expect even from the unpredictability, and as strange as it sounds, the unpredictability itself can become a kind of comfort. Because certainty is terrifying. Certainty means someone actually sees all of you, chooses all of you, stays for all of you, and then you have to live with the vulnerability of that. You have to trust it. And for someone who has been hurt, for someone who has learned that love comes with conditions, that level of trust can feel more threatening than the familiar pain of being almost chosen. I'm not saying you chose this consciously. I'm not saying any part of you wanted to be hurt. I'm saying that sometimes we gravitate toward the familiar, even when the familiar is painful, because the unfamiliar, real, steady, chosen, consistent love feels too exposed, too good to be real, too something will go wrong. And so we stay in the almost. We keep going back to the person who loves us but does not choose us because at least we know the rules. At least we know what we are dealing with. At least if it falls apart, we will not be surprised. And somehow not being surprised feels like being protected. It is not protection. It is a cage that feels like safety. And it is time, it is really time, to examine what you are actually afraid of. Because here is what happens when you keep giving your heart to people who love you but will not choose you. You start to redefine love as something that has to be earned through suffering. You start to believe that the intensity of the longing is the love, that the ache means it is real, that if it came easily, if someone just straightforwardly wanted you and showed up for you without drama, without chase, without uncertainty, it must not be as deep. And that is the most dangerous pattern of all, because it will have you walking right past the person who is ready to fully love you. Someone steady, someone consistent, someone who wakes up every day and simply chooses you, and you will feel almost nothing. Because it does not feel like the love you know. It does not hurt the right way, and you will call that boring. You will call that lacking chemistry. What it actually is safe. And safe is something you have not let yourself have in a long time. I want you to sit with something. Imagine, just for a moment, what it would feel like to be with someone who never makes you question whether you are wanted. Someone who does not pull back when things get real. Someone for whom choosing you is not a sacrifice, not a compromise, not something they have to work up the courage to do. It just is what they do, every day, without drama, without you having to earn it. How does that feel to imagine? Is there a part of you that resists it? A part of you that thinks it sounds naive, or impossible, or too good? That resistance, that is what we are actually talking about. That is the work. Not getting over him. Not understanding why he didn't choose you. The work is understanding why some part of you has decided that being fully chosen is not something that gets to be yours. Now I want to talk about where you go from here, because this video was never just about him. He is the catalyst. He is the situation that brought you to this moment. But the healing is yours. It belongs entirely to you. And healing from this kind of love, the love that was real but incomplete, the love that felt like everything but wasn't chosen, that healing has a specific shape. It is not linear. It is not clean. You are not going to wake up one morning and just be over it. Some days you will feel genuinely free, genuinely grateful that you are no longer sitting in that almost relationship, genuinely excited about what comes next. And then you will hear a song or smell something that reminds you of him, or find a photo on your phone, and you will be right back in the ache. And that is okay. That is not failure. That is just what it means to have loved someone deeply. The waves are part of it. What you do not want to do, what I am asking you sincerely, please do not do, is fast-track the healing by jumping immediately into another dynamic that looks familiar. The pull toward another person who gives you that almost chosen energy is going to be strong, because you know how to navigate it, because it feels like love in the language you already speak. But you have to start learning a new language, and new languages are uncomfortable. They are slow. They feel unnatural at first. You have to be willing to sit in the discomfort of something that does not feel like the love you are used to find out what love that is actually chosen for you feels like. Grieve him. Fully. Honestly grieve him. Not the fantasy of him, not the version of him you needed him to be. Grieve the actual person, the actual relationship, the actual future that is not going to happen. Let yourself be sad about that. Let yourself be angry about it if anger comes, because sometimes it does, and it is valid. Let yourself be confused and nostalgic and all the things that grief brings. Just do not let grief become a residence. You can visit it, but you cannot live there. And you cannot let grief whisper to you that what you lost was the only love you will ever have. It was a love, a significant one, a real one. But it was not the last one, and it was not the best one available to you. I want to say something to the part of you that is wondering whether you should reach out to him, whether you should try one more time, whether he just needs more time, more space, more of something, and then he will finally be ready to choose you. I know that hope. I know how alive it can feel. And I'm not going to tell you what to do because this is your life. But I'm going to ask you to be honest with yourself about one thing. How many times have you already gone back? How many times has the almost become a full thing only to fall back apart? Because there is a difference between someone who is working through something and is genuinely building toward you, and someone who keeps returning because you are comfortable, because it feels good, because the connection is real, but who is not and will not be different this time than they were the last time. You already know, somewhere in yourself, which one he is. You do not need me to tell you. You need permission to trust what you already know. So here it is. You have permission to trust what you already know. Here is what I want you to take from this video. Love without choice is incomplete. It is real, but it is incomplete. And you deserve complete. You deserve someone who does not just feel the feeling, but does the work. Someone who looks at the vulnerability of being with you, fully with you, all in, no exits, and walks toward it instead of away from it. Someone for whom choosing you is not the brave thing, it is just the obvious thing, because of course they choose you. You deserve the kind of love that does not require you to shrink yourself, quiet your needs, or negotiate with almost. You deserve certainty, not the certainty that nothing will ever go wrong, because that does not exist, but the certainty of someone who, when things do go wrong, stays in the room and works through it with you. That person exists, that love exists, but you cannot have access to it while you are still standing in the doorway of the relationship that never fully opened its door to you. The hardest part of letting go of someone who loved you but did not choose you is that there is no bad guy to be angry at. There is no clean reason to hate them. The love was real. That is what makes walking away feel like such a loss, because it is a loss. You are not imagining it, but you are also not required to stay in a loss just because it was real. You are allowed to grieve it and release it. You are allowed to say, this was something, and it mattered, and it is over, and I am going to carry the lessons and put down the weight. You are allowed to stop waiting for someone to finally see what you are worth and start living as though you already know. Because you do know. That is the thing. Underneath all of this, underneath the self-doubt and the late-night what-ifs and the rewritten memories, you know what you deserve. You have always known. You were just hoping he would confirm it. But confirmation does not come from the people who do not choose you. It comes from you. It comes from deciding, today, in this moment, after everything, that you are someone worth choosing. And then living accordingly. This is not a small thing I am asking you to do. It is probably the most courageous thing you will do this year. To take your heart back from someone who was not holding it the way it deserved to be held. To stop explaining yourself to someone who was never going to get it. To stop auditing yourself, looking for the flaw, the thing you could have done differently, the reason you were not enough. And to just start moving, not running, not rushing into something new to cover up the pain. Just moving, one foot in front of the other, back toward yourself, If this video hit you somewhere real, if you recognized yourself in any of this, I want you to do something before you close out of here. Leave a comment below and just tell me, where are you in this? You don't have to have the words figured out. You don't have to be at the healed part. Just tell me where you are right now. Because you are not alone in this, and sometimes just saying it out loud, even in a comment section on the internet, is the first step towards something better. And if you know someone who needs to hear this today, send it to them. You might not know how to say it yourself, but maybe this video can say it for them. Subscribe if you want to keep going on this journey, because we are going deep on these topics every single week. Love, healing, patterns, identity, all of it. And share this wherever it belongs. The right person needs to find it. You did. Let's make sure they do too.